I know, you missed me. It's my fault. I haven't uploaded in a while, and for that I'm sorry. But if you give me just a couple minutes, I want to show you what I've been doing. I have been working on a Homelab. Now, we're talking the whole bells and whistles, having it entirely self-hosted. So, without further ado, my name's Matthew. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure to drop that like and sub and leave a comment. Alright guys, so the very first problem that you run into with Homelabbing is you're either going to have to grab a piece of paper and write down every single domain and what you created, and then tell your friends that domain as well, who are for some reason on your same internet/network, aka your family, or you set up some kind of homepage. This one in particular is called Flame though. It does it based off of the time, so you can see it's 3:41 and it says good afternoon, and my applications to do anything with my network or anything of that nature is right here. So right off the bat you see already what we're going to be taking a look at today and things of that nature. In addition to that though, I also have a really useful calendar to basically explain when certain shifts are, and our trash, just normal house stuff. And finally, I have it automatically connected. This is more of a customization, so I'm still working on it. So here you can see, for example, all the news, the different locations, the Googling, watch list. I'm probably going to move the watch list up there, but that's my own personal preference. But that's my homepage. And you can see here as well, this is actually a certified location. It's not on the public web, but it is an actual link. So you're probably looking at this like,
okay, great. This is a homepage. Whoop-de-doo. Congratulations. I can make it with HTML in 5 seconds.
Let me show you this. Now, this is called Nextcloud. Nextcloud is basically your entire cloud, but for yourself, basically. It's basically Google, but personalized. So everything that I have, whether it be files that I'm creating, wedding photos, documents, it's all being essentially put here. And you can take a look as well through this, even in terms of the sizes of certain locations and files and such, that I'm personally using this. 200 gigabytes, 21 gigabytes. Now, that being said, I can go into the photos, I can show you the mail, I can show you all those sort of things, but then I have to be going through my own privacy. So I'm just going to show you the side things that I don't personally use that much, but are still super useful. The calendar, for example, I have this set up to where I can just normal set every so often, put it through from until, and it's basically infinite forever looping because, you know, those are repetitive tasks. So no matter if I go all the way into January 7th, and just want to see what that week's looking like, I'm able to see it. You're able to import your scheduling, you're able to import photos, you're able to invite people if you have this public, and you're able to do a lot more. So if you're, for example, someone who has a lot of files and you're using MediaFire, Google Drive, anything of that nature, you can set this all up on a very small device, whether it be a laptop or just internally on your own machine. You can do it. Now, the space factor does take into account, or needs to be taken into account rather, because it is based off of obviously your device's space. And of course, because this is a cloud, naturally, if your device that is hosting it runs into problems, then of course your cloud per se is down. It's essentially like having a completely different machine holding all your files, but now you have a fancy UI on top of it. That's all the cloud is. So when you think about it in the larger perspective, you're actually having Google, for example, hold your files on their machine. That's kind of scary, especially if, for example, you have baby photos or anything else of that nature, which we've covered on this channel in terms of Google going after some people, or other companies rather. Nextcloud also has an app that can be used on your phone that will automatically back up your images or documents or anything for that matter that you actually want to have backed up. The next one I want to show you is something that you might be more familiar with, but it has a unique twist to it. And I'm not going to get into all this fancy smancy details of it, but I'm just going to show you essentially how this is per se going and running. It's something that I haven't seen anyone really bring up before, but it might be something that's per se interesting to you.
Keep in mind, this is for educational purposes only and totally just an example of what you could be doing here.
So this is Jellyfin. Jellyfin is essentially an alternative to Plex. This allows you to, for example, watch any show that you want / movie, as long as, of course, you own it. Now, that being said, there are ways and things that you can do to make your Jellyfin a lot more smart / intelligent. And one of those things is a plugin that I found is Gelato. Now, Gelato essentially allows you to turn your Jellyfin into a streaming server. Now, this streaming server basically will go from one of your servers, your other servers, and instead of downloading it from one of your one of your other servers, you're able to essentially just stream it so you instantly get it. So, for example, if I wanted to, watch New Girls, which bought and paid for, thanks to my wife, from one server to another, then I can use Gelato to essentially have it stream instantaneously over. That being said, you might need some different tooling, such as, for example, Torbox, or some other streaming service. Usually those are around $3 to just be the middleman for your streams. However, it does allow you to make that connection a lot faster. Now, Jellyfin isn't just for shows, it's also for movies, it's also for your music, it's also for pretty much whatever you want to have that's basically at your hands. The next thing that I want to show you guys, which actually isn't on this at all, is kind of like Navidrome. Navidrome is essentially your go-to music / media player. However, as you can tell, the URL for me specifically doesn't want to work right now. That's because I haven't touched it in a very long time, and I'm going to show you why. But this is where AI kind of comes in and makes things really interesting as my chair decides to fade in and out like I'm part of the Matrix. You see, with AI, it becomes extremely interesting on the things you can do because it actually builds the bridge between your stupidity, because that's all it is, or lack of knowledge, with the code that you wish you always had, that you're not going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for. So, it's essentially, I wish I had, or rather in the middle, and then AI saying, it's done. Now, I'm going to give you an example of this, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of AI, but the catch is, as with anything, we have to live with it, and we're going to be dealing with it. So because we have to live with it and we have to deal with it, we might as well create things that are going to be useful in our everyday lives that we per se want to have. Now, with that being said, and that large-ass disclaimer, let me show you this. This here is my own media player. I've recently created it, and I'm actually going to start selling it here very soon. This is not a plug. I'm not going to go into the details of that part. But basically, it's Spotify on steroids, mixed with a bit of YouTube, mixed with a bit of everything on inspiration. So without further ado, I'll log into the device, or rather not the device, but the application. From that point on, what's going to happen is it's going to populate all the music that I have, and it's going to create its own algorithms, or has rather, shall I say, it has created its own algorithms to be able to figure out what type of music I like, what I want to play next, and more or less really what's going on. This is a culmination of a lot of different systems all working together as one. So, for example, I have continue listening, recommended for you, most played, exploring a library, which of course is extremely large because I like music, and then of course going down, newly added releases, things of that nature. Now you might be asking, how does this work for this machine? Now, of course, I have demo music loaded up to show you guys how this works, but essentially you have album section, you have tracks section, you have discovery, you have playlists, transfers, settings. So within your album section, any album that you have is going to detect your album list, and then it will compile it here, to which then you have a lot of different ways of sorting it, essentially. In addition to that, you have a like and you have a star system. If you star something, depending on how you start, it will actually change the algorithm on how it's going to recommend things to you later on. In addition to that, the same thing goes for liking. Because you have to put so much effort into doing that, it will then put a lot of effort into actually seeing that as an algorithm. So for example, if I click on a song right here, you're not going to hear it or anything else of that nature, but I will. It will then compile a list on the right side with my big face right there blocking it. On the right side of owned, or what you don't have owned that it can find, and then you're able to play the album that you deem fit. In addition to that, the same thing kind of goes with tracks, except with tracks they're a little bit different. With tracks, kind of work in progress if you will, it will try to look for the lyrics if it can find it within LyricHub, as well as give you music that is either similar or music that you were just listening to or things of that nature. You can tell that it wants to go from, Falling in Reverse to Amy Winehouse, so you can kind of get an idea of my tastes. It's not per se the exact same, but it's there. Okay, work. A little bit of work. Anyway, so the really interesting part about this setup though for my house that my wife really likes as well. And by the way, I made this because I got tired of the ads, okay? I got tired of being inside of the car, got tired of being in my house, got tired of just enjoying music, and next thing you know, I get hit with 3 to 4 ads at a time. So I'm like, screw it, we're going back to the old school Windows Media Player. Well, anyways, if a new song becomes available anywhere, something came up, it's brand new, it's gonna show up on the Apple charts, to which then you can preview it straight from it. And you can also request songs straight from here. So that being said, make sure that you only do it to songs that you own. However, immediately say I want a song that's from this album that I don't know. I click it, it's requested, it immediately goes into the transfer section and it starts looking and downloading. Just like that. The same goes for other discoveries, say Christian music, for example, and latest releases. Maybe the K-pop chart, the pop chart, the rock chart, hip-hop, R&B, and of course, just exploring what you got now, you're able to do. But there's more to that, and I know I'm showing a lot of time on this, and it's because it's my baby. And this was all made within about a month of using the $20 sub of an AI. Let's say, for example, you have an entire playlist from YouTube that you just want to migrate over, okay? That logo in the corner is probably not a good idea for this. Let's say you have an entire playlist that you want to actually just bring in, okay? An entire radio. You just copy the URL. Go here into the search, paste it, it's gonna pop up. You're gonna specify what genre this sort of playlist is. You're gonna type it in, whatever it is. You're gonna specify this URL is a playlist. And from there, you type in what playlist name you want it. You can inspect the videos to see what the list is gonna look like. If you're having hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of songs, for example, that is populating, which is usually how these YouTube radios work. It's gonna take a ridiculous amount of time because it has to constantly load the entire list as per what YouTube does, where if you go here, it keeps scrolling down and it looks like it's over, but in reality, if you keep going, it spawns in more. That's because that's just how it goes. You see, there's actually 425 songs in this list, even though it's just looking like maybe there's 40. It's just how YouTube does it, but this app is able to grab it, to which then you can decide whether you want a certain song or not to be in that list. From that point on, it will download all of your music entirely and go and be listed in the playlist section, to which then you're able to figure out what you do or don't like and create your own playlist. Now here's the catch to this. If, for example, you have a large family, right? And you want to be able to share your music with each other, you just have to switch your music playlist over to public, and then those playlists are shared between each other's family members. Now, the other thing I want to show you as well is this also works with Spotify. So while it says YouTube, it will therefore also pick up Spotify playlists, which is something that I personally am really happy about. So all I have to do, for example, is go here just like we did before. I find a daily mix or something of that nature. I right click it. I go to share, copy link to playlist. I go exactly here, paste. You can see already right off the bat, figure out it's from Spotify. It gets an idea of how many tracks there are, a little bit less in terms of what you can and can't click off though. The playlist name, and then just import. You're good to go. Now you have all of your tracks in a matter of minutes per se. Now this is connectable with your LiDAR. It's connectable with your Navidrum if you want Navidrum to just manage everything and kind of turn this into just a playlist runner. It's really customizable. And in addition to that, something that's really nice is that you have the ability to be able to essentially whitelist or close registrations. So if you have, for example, a bunch of people that are actually using it, you're able to see who's using what, where, what's the internal or external IP addresses. Maybe I need to ban a user, maybe I need to modify it, whatever you deem fit. This is where things get a little bit interesting, and I haven't been able to, per se, fully experiment with it myself, because I have a lot of friends who are tech savvy but absolutely hate AI and what it can be used for. There's a feature up here in the top where you can connect to another friend server. Now the problem with this, and this is the big warning label, is that with these sort of programs, you essentially have to open up a port. It's just like opening up a port for a website. The problem is when you have a website running, it's very terrifying, because if you don't have good security on it, if you don't know the code, if you don't know anything else of that nature, and you open up a port, then that can leave you vulnerable to problems. So I do not recommend you at all whatsoever doing this in any shape or form, actually, but it's still there. And the reason why I don't recommend it is because, obviously, like I said before, I created this before with AI. This was a proof in concept and it turned into reality. I don't know how the code will actually react when it comes to remotely. I don't know what sort of vulnerabilities can be exploited, because it is indeed accessing files. However, it is within a Docker, and I have made it possible for a Docker to be used, which is how I'm running it personally. However, it still has to access persistent data, and sorry for the giant rundown. So therefore, I would say personally, for using the house or the intra, it's a wonderful app to have. It's marvelous. But as far as exposing it to the internet, I highly would not recommend it. Now, again, have at it. What you can do, for example, though, and I've tested it as well with my wife multiple times, having her be the guinea pig, is you can use this in the car. So while it might look like it's just this piece, it scales for tablets. And in addition to that, if I push it down just enough, you can see here it essentially turns itself into a kind of small mobile player. So you can play this directly from the car. This is exactly what it would look like from the car point of view, or your phone point of view. And then you can just pick in your song, for example, whatever it might be. Obviously, there's some nitpick parts, such as, for example, scrolling all the way down. It's questionable, even though nowadays there's some crazy apps that are like that. But even when it comes to albums and the tracks, it's been organized and sorted so that way you can actually do it from the phone, from your computer, whatever you want, and it just works. These are the three things that make my home server really incredible and make my life so much easier. But I'm going to show you guys a fourth one, or 1, 2, 3, 4, a fourth one, which is something that I only recently learned, even though I have a ton of certifications and I've been working on computers for like ever at this point, and that's VMware. So normally you have your standard, excuse me. So normally you have a connector where you have to log into the URL. I could probably copy that URL. I go straight to it. And now I have to just essentially go through everything. Well, with VMware, you're actually able to connect your server in and just directly go into your virtual machine. It's so much nicer than using the web UI. If I go from this list that can also just be popped down like this, I can just click once and it goes straight to my Kali. I can click once, it goes straight to my cloud. I can click once, it goes straight to my entertainment. And it's just back to back to back to back. Now, I haven't seen anyone mention this before, and I'm just like, what the heck? I'm sure it would work with Proxmox. I'm using a ESXi setup. I'm sure it would work with Proxmox. But this software is absolutely incredible for maintaining the different virtual machines I'm using throughout the day and handling it. For normal Windows folk, you're probably doing this already if you're a massive server guy. But I didn't know doing home labbing, and now I do. So there's that. Did I mention as well, by the way, that the Rectunes also works literally in your own browser? So you don't even need the app, you just do it via the browser. And don't mind the images, it's just because of my browser settings, so it doesn't run scripts and whatnot, or pull images. But I'm just saying. Anyways, the last thing I want to show you guys out of my entire server setup currently and how this is getting crazy is my ad guard. Ad guard is crazy. And I'm going to explain to you why this is interesting. Number one, I don't get a YouTube ad. Now you think I'm crazy. I'm going to show you just going down the list. I don't pay for YouTube Premium. The only thing I do get is non-instantaneous videos such as this. And I'm much more happier with that than being stuck watching an ad. But as you can see, I'm not getting ads. And I don't have Premium. What I do have, on the other hand, is Ad Guard. Ad Guard removes all ads. It doesn't matter where it is. I can be on Yahoo, I can be on Google, I can be on Chrome. It removes ads. Now, that sounds wonderful. You've heard this 1,001 times, okay? 1,001 times. But I'm going to show you something. And I'm going to go on a mobile game. Now, typically within this mobile game, you have to watch an ad to do anything, okay? Here it is. But here's the deal. Now, with the enabled, I just start. And look, I'm playing. But wait, there's more, okay? I'm going to try to deliberately die while looking. We're just going to go, we're just going to go in a straight line. Oh no, he got me. I guess I'm going to have to watch an ad in order to play the game again. I'm right back at it. I can just play the game again. It's made my wife's life a hell of a lot nicer. It's made my life nicer. And our house is a lot more peaceful. So there's that. Oh, and something else. You can genuinely, with AdGuard, actually make it block certain websites and apps essentially through it the entire time. So it's just something to be on the lookout for. And finally, the last big thing that I want to show you, even though I said the last thing was the last big thing I want to show you, is actually my Portainer. My Portainer is essentially how I'm managing all my Dockers. So like I mentioned before, I'm running my Rectunes inside of a Docker. It's going to be a separate one compared to what I'm showing you. But essentially, this is how I'm running them all. There's 3 pages of this. And you can see, for example, that's why Navigator wasn't working earlier. Like you saw, I actually have it shut down. And you can also see here, Rectunes that's actually chilling on this one. Now that I realized it was actually this one. Anyways, this is how I'm running things. So in addition to having the wonderful Homelab, the music now, the videos now for however I want with the own content that I have, I also have a way to be able to control the different separate programs into pieces. Now, I've been thinking about how to change this and how to upgrade this to be even better for the future, and I'm still not entirely sure. So if you have an idea of what I should put on my home server, leave a comment and let me know, because I am, of course, always interested in these things. If you're curious in terms of how to set something up, or you're curious about more information about something, let me know as well. I'd be happy to show you guys.